There's a brutal truth most people don't want to hear. Life doesn't care about your excuses. While you're sitting there complaining about the job you hate, the body you're not proud of, the dream you don't have time for, someone else is out there doing the work, quietly, consistently, without applause. And while you wait for motivation, they're building momentum. That's why they're growing. That's why they're winning. Not because they had it easier, but because they stopped whining and started moving. It's uncomfortable, I know, because complaining feels good in the moment. It makes you feel heard. It justifies the delay, but it also keeps you stuck. Every time you complain instead of acting, you're trading your power for pity. And here's the twist. The very life you envy, the freedom, the success, the purpose, it's not that far. But you won't reach it standing still, waiting for perfect timing, or blaming the world for not handing it to you. Here's a challenge. Instead of saying, it's hard, try saying, it's possible. Instead of wishing for easier days, build stronger habits. Take one step, then another. Because the world isn't moved by your complaints, it's shaped by your actions. And your future? It's being written every day by what you do and by what you avoid. The good news? You get to choose. You can stay in the same loop, or you can break it. This video is for those who are ready to stop being spectators in their own story. For those who are tired of watching others rise while they hesitate. For those who know, deep down, that something greater is possible, but haven't known where to start. You don't need more time. You don't need permission. You need clarity, urgency, and discipline. And that's exactly what we're diving into now. So get ready, because we're not here to sugarcoat anything. We're here to wake something up in you, something that's been buried under fear, doubt, and endless distractions. It's time to remember who you are. And while you've been waiting, the clock's been ticking. Let's make sure you don't run out of time while someone else is running toward everything you wanted. Ever noticed how the sun never asks permission to rise? It doesn't wait for applause, nor does it check if the world is ready to receive its light. It just shows up, bright, bold, and unstoppable. That's your reminder. You don't need anyone's approval to shine. Even when life feels heavy or chaotic, you still have the right to move forward. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. The sun rises regardless of yesterday's storms, and you can too, even if your soul is still healing. Most people live their whole lives waiting to feel ready, waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to try, waiting for fear to go away. But here's the truth. They'll be waiting forever. Success doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause. And life won't stop to pat you on the back. Those who grow, who build something real, are the ones who move forward even when things don't feel ideal. Like the sun, they just show up. No permission slip required. You don't need a crowd cheering you on to take your first step. You don't need everything figured out before you act. Most people never realize that greatness starts in silence, in small, consistent steps taken in the dark. That's how resilience is born. Through the quiet commitment to act anyway, to keep going when no one's watching. The world can be falling apart, but you still get to rise. Because light doesn't wait for the dark to end. It breaks through it. Once you let go of the need to be validated, something shifts. You stop asking, can I? And start saying, I will. That shift is the difference between wishing and doing, between watching others succeed and creating your own story. While others stay trapped in hesitation, you step forward. Not because it's easy, not because you're fearless, but because you've realized one truth. If you don't act now, you might never do it. And you didn't come this far to stay invisible. So here's your wake-up call. Don't wait to be ready. You won't ever feel 100% prepared. The ones who win in life aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who started before they felt ready. Just like the sun, they showed up again and again. And now, as day turns to night, let me ask you this. What about the moon? Because just like the sun, the moon doesn't wait either. Life doesn't slow down just because you're tired. It doesn't wait while you figure things out. The moon rises without asking if you're ready for another night. Time keeps moving. Ruthless, relentless, unstoppable. And if you're not moving with it, you're falling behind. This might sound harsh, but it's the truth most people need to hear. Life is implacable. It doesn't care if you're confused, scared, or unmotivated. It's happening anyway. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you take responsibility for your own path. Think about it. While you're hesitating, someone else is building. While you're complaining, someone else is solving. The world doesn't pause for your emotions. That doesn't mean your feelings don't matter, but it does mean they can't be your excuse. Growth demands movement. Discipline doesn't wait for comfort. If you want transformation, you have to stop waiting for things to get easier. They won't. What changes isn't the world. It's your mindset, your actions, your decisions. You see, life rewards those who show up consistently, not those who show up when it's convenient. So if you're only taking action when you feel good, you'll never see results. The clock is ticking, whether you like it or not. Every moment you delay is a moment you're not becoming who you're meant to be. And let's be honest, you don't get that time back. There's urgency here, not panic, but clarity. If you don't start living on purpose, life will make your choices for you. You have two options: be a passenger or be the driver. The passenger reacts, complains, blames circumstances. The driver takes control, even with shaky hands. You don't need to know the whole route. You just need to be willing to steer. Life's going to throw obstacles, that's a guarantee. But if you stop every time it rains, you'll never finish the race. Real success comes from showing up in the storm, from choosing action even when fear screams louder than courage. And here's the thing. Most people wait for life to give them a break, but life doesn't give breaks. It gives chances disguised as challenges. And those challenges, they shape you. They test you. They make sure you're serious about the life you say you want. So if you've been stuck, overwhelmed, or paralyzed by fear, let this be your reminder. Life doesn't care about your excuses, but it deeply respects your consistency. Now, let's talk about what happens when you finally decide to stop watching and start acting. Too many people live like extras in their own lives. They wait in the background, watching others succeed, always blaming timing, luck, or circumstances. But here's the truth. No one's coming to hand you a starring role. You have to claim it. Being the main character doesn't mean everything revolves around you. It means you stop living passively. You stop reacting and start creating. You own your story, your growth, your transformation, because no one else can do that for you. You can't keep making excuses and expect your life to change. Excuses are comfortable. They protect you from risk, but they also shield you from progress. Every time you say, "I'll try tomorrow," or "I'm not good enough," you give up the pen that writes your story. And here's the thing. Your story is being written whether you like it or not. The question is, are you writing it, or is someone else doing it for you? You either lead your life, or life leads you. Some of the most powerful growth happens in silence. Not everything you do needs to be announced. Being the main character doesn't mean being loud. It means being intentional, waking up with purpose, acting even when no one notices. Most success is built when no one is watching. When you decide to get serious about your goals, distractions lose their grip. You stop needing validation because your focus becomes louder than your doubts. Think about every great story you've ever read or watched. The hero always faces challenges. They fall, they doubt, but they keep going. Why? Because they believe something greater is possible. That's you. You're not a victim of your past or your environment. You're the one with the power to rewrite the script. And sometimes, being the hero means walking alone for a while. It means trusting your inner strength when everything outside is telling you to quit. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the right time, this is your sign. Get back in the game. Reclaim your role. No more blaming, no more waiting. Take ownership of your time, your choices, your results. The story isn't over. Not even close. But if you don't step up now, someone else will write the ending for you. And that's a regret too heavy to carry. Speaking of which, let's talk about what it really takes to win this game called life. Winning isn't a one-time event. It's not about luck or that one magical moment where everything clicks. It's about what you do every single day, especially on the hard days. Victory is built in the grind, in the repetition, in showing up when your body aches and your mind whispers, "Take it easy." Success doesn't scream. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, hidden behind early mornings, late nights, and moments when quitting seemed easier than pushing through. Most people want the results, but they're not willing to face the fight. They want the transformation, but not the discipline. They admire the strong but forget the process that built them. And here's the reality. Winning hurts. It's uncomfortable. You'll feel tired. You'll be tempted to take shortcuts. But the ones who win long-term are the ones who choose consistency over comfort. They treat every day like it matters, because it does. There's a difference between being busy and being committed. Busyness is easy. It feels like progress, but often leads nowhere. Commitment, on the other hand, is brutal. It demands choices. It asks you to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term greatness. Every morning, you have a decision: stay where you are or push a little harder. The difference between average and exceptional isn't talent. It's the ability to endure discomfort again and again. You don't build strength by doing what's easy. You build it in resistance, in lifting what feels impossible, mentally and physically. Champions aren't born in stadiums. They're forged in quiet moments when no one's watching and everything in them wants to give up, but they don't. Winning, then, becomes less about the outcome and more about who you're becoming. And if you can learn to love the process, the results will take care of themselves. So next time you feel like skipping the gym, the study session, the business call, remember, that's where the battle is won. Not in grand gestures, but in small, repeated acts of discipline. Each one is a brick in the foundation of your future. Each one separates you from the version of yourself that settles. And speaking of settling, let's talk about what happens when you start giving up on your dreams. Giving up isn't rest. It's not taking a break. It's surrendering your future for the comfort of now. When you abandon your dreams, you're not just stopping a plan, you're shutting down a part of yourself. And that part? It's the one that believed in growth, in purpose, in something more. That's why giving up feels like a slow death. You keep waking up, going through the motions, but deep down, something's missing. And over time, that emptiness gets louder. People don't always quit loudly. Sometimes they just stop trying. They start settling for good enough, convincing themselves that dreams are childish or unrealistic. But the truth? Dreams are fuel. They give direction. They give life texture. When you stop chasing them, you start fading, even if you're still breathing. That's why it's so dangerous to stop moving, because the longer you stay in place, the more normal it feels to live without fire. You might be in a dark place right now. You might feel stuck, confused, or worn out. That's human, but don't mistake that pain as a reason to give up. Use it. Let it teach you, sharpen you, fuel your next move. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come right after the moment you nearly quit. Quitting feels tempting, especially when progress is invisible. But invisible doesn't mean meaningless. What you build in the dark eventually shines in the light. Remember, being remembered, being significant, being fulfilled, it takes effort. It takes fight, and no one gets there by accident. You can't expect to be celebrated for work you never did or a legacy you never built. If you want to matter, you have to matter to yourself first. That means fighting through the hard days, the silent seasons, the rejection, the doubt. That means refusing to go down easy. You're capable of more, but only if you stop giving up on yourself. So ask yourself this: when they talk about you one day, because they will, what will they say? That you started strong but faded, or that you fought when most would have folded? Giving up is easy. That's why most people do it. But you're here for something more. And if you want to reach that next level, you'll have to conquer something most people never do: your own mind. Your mind is the loudest voice you'll ever hear. And sometimes it lies. It tells you to wait. It whispers that you're not good enough. It convinces you to play it safe, to procrastinate, to doubt everything you once believed in. That voice, it's not always your friend. In fact, it's often your biggest obstacle. But here's the twist: it can also be your greatest weapon. The same mind that tells you to quit can also tell you to rise. The key is learning how to use it. Most people lose the battle in their heads before they even take action. They let fear disguise itself as logic. They overthink every move, paralyzed by the need for certainty. But life doesn't reward overthinkers. It rewards doers. If you keep listening to that inner critic, you'll stay stuck in the same place, replaying the same excuses. Real transformation starts when you learn to question your thoughts, not obey them blindly. Not every voice in your head deserves your trust. Here's the truth: your thoughts aren't always facts. Just because your mind says you can't doesn't mean it's right. Your brain is wired for survival, not greatness. It wants comfort, routine, and predictability. But success lives outside that zone. That means you'll have to push through mental resistance. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when your mind screams otherwise. It's the muscle that helps you separate your emotions from your mission. Training your mind is like training a muscle. It takes consistency. You can't expect mental strength if you keep feeding your brain negativity and distraction. If you constantly dwell on what's missing, what's hard, what might go wrong, you're reinforcing weakness. But if you start focusing on what's possible, what's within your control, and what you truly want, everything shifts. You become sharper, more focused, more unshakable. And that's when your mind starts working with you, not against you. Because in the end, your success will never be bigger than your mindset. You can have all the talent, the tools, the time, but if your mind isn't aligned, it'll sabotage everything. The strongest people aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who win the fight in their head every single day. So if you're serious about changing your life, start with your thoughts. Now let's go deeper, because there's a reason the greatest legends are born not in glory, but in pain. Pain is not the enemy. It's the furnace. It's what burns away the weakness, the hesitation, the illusion of comfort. The legends you admire weren't born with superpowers. They were carved by hardship. They kept going when others stopped. They cried in silence, trained alone, failed in the dark, and still showed up. The world only sees the glory, but that glory was paid for in blood, sweat, and invisible wounds. Pain doesn't destroy the strong. It reveals them. Most people want to skip the pain. They want growth without discomfort, results without risk, strength without struggle. But that's not how greatness works. True transformation requires sacrifice. You can't become someone new while clinging to who you were. Pain is the price of progress, and the sooner you stop resisting it, the sooner it becomes your teacher. Every setback, every heartbreak, every silent night you doubted yourself, it was shaping you. It still is. There's something sacred about pain that's endured with purpose. It humbles you. It awakens you. It forces you to face yourself without filters. And that's where power is born, not in pretending to be unshakable, but in choosing to rise again despite the cracks. The legends, they don't run from pain. They walk into it with open eyes, not because they enjoy it, but because they understand. On the other side of pain is power. On the other side of the breakdown is the breakthrough. So when you feel like you're at your limit, when it feels like everything's falling apart, pause. Don't run. Breathe. And remember that pressure doesn't break diamonds. It makes them. What feels like destruction might just be the start of your rebirth. And no, it won't be easy. But neither is staying stuck. You can either suffer through growth or suffer through regret. One builds legacy. The other builds excuses. Let pain become the proof that you're in the process of becoming. Let it mark the moments that mattered. Because when the success finally comes, and it won't be the applause that stays with you. It'll be the nights you almost gave up and didn't. Now, speaking of comfort zones, let's talk about something controversial. Maybe balance isn't the answer after all. We've been sold the idea that balance is the key to everything, that you can achieve greatness while keeping everything neat, easy, and perfectly aligned. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Real achievement often demands imbalance. You can't chase a dream like your life depends on it and still expect to sleep in, say yes to every invitation, and keep everyone happy. Balance is safe. But if you want to be extraordinary, you'll need to get a little unbalanced, on purpose. People will tell you to slow down, to enjoy life, to not go too far. But think about it. When have you ever seen someone reach legendary status by playing it safe? The top athletes, entrepreneurs, creators, they didn't get there by staying in the middle lane. They obsessed, they sacrificed, they chose their purpose over their comfort again and again. And guess what? That obsession is what separated them from everyone else who gave up when it got inconvenient. You can't be casual about your calling and expect massive results. You have to go all in. And yes, it will feel like too much sometimes. Your schedule will look crazy to others. Your priorities will seem selfish. But that's the cost of doing something that matters. Greatness doesn't come with a handbook or a schedule that fits perfectly into a 9-to-5. It shows up for those who rearrange their entire life around what they're called to build. Now, this doesn't mean you destroy yourself. It means you become intentional about where your energy goes. You stop trying to have it all at the same time and instead focus on what matters most right now. That focus, that relentless dedication, is what turns average into unstoppable. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking to fit inside other people's comfort zones. You give yourself permission to go deep, not just wide, because in the end, balance might keep you comfortable, but obsession is what builds empires. If your dream doesn't scare you, if it doesn't demand everything from you, maybe it's not big enough. The real question is, are you willing to get unbalanced for a season so you can live balanced for a lifetime? Let's explore that idea further, starting with something most people run from: pain as a tool, not a punishment. Pain isn't just something to survive, it's something to use. Most people try to avoid it at all costs. They numb it, escape it, run from it. But the truth is, pain has a purpose. It sharpens, it reveals, it stretches you beyond your current limits. When you learn to embrace it, not as punishment, but as part of the process, you start building something that lasts. Every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every failure becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. You don't build muscle without resistance. You don't build mental toughness without adversity. And you definitely don't build a meaningful life by chasing ease. Pain is the price of elevation. It's how you grow stronger, deeper, more grounded. But you have to stop labeling it as something bad. Pain, when approached with purpose, becomes transformation. It teaches what success never could. It humbles, refines, and shapes your character. Think of every powerful story you admire. It was born in pain. The comeback, the rise, the breakthrough, it all started with struggle. That's not coincidence. That's how life works. If you're in a hard season right now, maybe you're not being buried. Maybe you're being planted. And soon, what looks like loss will bloom into something powerful. But only if you stay in the fight. Only if you keep building, brick by brick, even when no one else sees it. Let's be honest. Comfort feels nice in the moment, but it doesn't build anything worth keeping. Pain, on the other hand, creates depth. It forces you to ask better questions, to make tougher decisions, to fight harder for what you believe in. Every scar becomes a story of strength. Every sacrifice becomes proof that you didn't quit when it got tough. And that proof? That's what separates the ones who merely existed from the ones who built something eternal. So here's the shift. Stop asking, how do I get rid of this pain? And start asking, what is this pain building in me? Because that mindset is how champions are made. It's how legends are forged. And speaking of legends, let's finish strong by talking about what it really takes to leave a legacy that lives beyond applause and outlasts the spotlight. Glory isn't for the loudest, the fastest, or even the most talented. It's for the ones who don't stop. When the hype fades, when the applause dies down, when no one's watching, the resilient keep going. That's where true greatness is born. In the shadows, in the silence, in the moments no one will ever see. It's not about being seen. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to be seen to stay committed. Resilience is the quiet superpower behind every lasting success. The world is obsessed with quick wins, viral fame, overnight results. But real success? It takes years. It takes showing up when you're tired, when you're doubting yourself, when you feel invisible. The ones who rise aren't always the ones who shine the brightest. They're the ones who refuse to back down. They build their future day by day, failure by failure, breakthrough by breakthrough. And eventually, the world notices. But by then, they've already won inside. Resilience isn't flashy. It's not sexy, but it's unstoppable. It's what makes you keep writing after 100 rejections. Keep training after 1,000 missed shots. Keep believing even when everyone else has stopped. Most people give up way too early. They quit not because they weren't capable, but because they weren't consistent. You've got something different inside you. You've tasted pain. You've earned your scars, and you're still here. That means something. Think about the people who inspire you. They didn't just succeed. They endured. They outlasted failure, doubt, and resistance. And that's what makes their story unforgettable. You have that same potential, but you have to stop looking for shortcuts and start building with intention. Stop chasing comfort and start embracing the slow burn of real progress. That's how you become someone who lasts. Not a spark, but a fire. So now, the question is, are you willing to keep going when no one claps? When no one notices? When everything in you wants to quit, but something stronger whispers, Just one more step, because that's where the glory lives, not in the spotlight, but in the resilience that built the foundation. And now that we've gone through the fire, it's time to spark something bigger. Now that you've seen the truth, what's your next move? Because this isn't just another motivational video. It's a mirror, a wake-up call. And what you do after this moment will say more about you than anything you've done before. You can keep scrolling, keep complaining, keep blaming, or you can do the one thing that changes everything. Act. Even if it's messy, even if it's scary, even if no one claps when you start. Ask yourself, what excuse have you been repeating that's kept you in place? What dream have you been shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort zone? What part of you knows you're capable of more, but you've been ignoring it? These are the questions that crack open the door to real transformation, but only if you answer them honestly, and only if you're willing to follow your answer with action. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to start. One change, one decision, one bold move. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's deleting a distraction. Maybe it's finally doing the thing you said you would. Whatever it is, do it today. Because time doesn't slow down for the unsure, and life doesn't wait for those stuck in fear. The longer you wait, the louder regret becomes. If this message lit something up in you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and come back, not just to listen, but to build. This space is for people like you, people who are done waiting for a miracle and ready to become one. Because while most are still talking about what they'll do one day, you're about to become the proof that it's already happening. So, the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you? Because someone, somewhere, already is. And now, it's your turn.